The world is full of loud voices claiming to be smart, but true intelligence whispers in subtle ways. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you truly are. Machiavelli warned us of this centuries ago. Intelligence often reveals itself through subtle habits rather than loud displays. Think about it. Truly sharp minds rarely feel the need to announce themselves. They don't rush to prove they're the smartest in the room. Instead, they let their habits speak quietly, almost invisibly, until you realize there's something different about the way they move through life. It might be in the way they listen, giving you their full attention instead of waiting for their turn to speak. It might be in the way they pause before answering, weighing words like coins before they spend them. These are not grand gestures, but they reveal a mind that values precision over noise. A loud voice can dominate a conversation, but it does not guarantee wisdom. A person who interrupts constantly may seem confident, but often it's the one who sits back, observing the flow, noticing what is said, and more importantly, what is left unsaid, who actually understands the room. Intelligence is not about being the center of attention, it is about seeing the whole picture. Subtle habits also show in curiosity. Smart people don't just ask questions when they're expected to. They ask questions in odd, quiet moments when nobody else is paying attention. They see something ordinary, a routine, a rule, a small detail, and they ask, why is it like this? Could it be different? That question, so simple and so soft, is often the spark that leads to invention, to change, to deeper understanding. Even restraint is a subtle mark of intelligence. When anger comes, most people react immediately, loudly, and sometimes foolishly. But the person who breathes first, who measures whether a reaction is worth the cost, is not weak. They are strong in a different way, the strength of knowing that not every battle is worth fighting, not every insult is worth an answer. Intelligence shows in how someone manages their time, how they prioritize what matters and let go of what doesn't. It shows in choosing to read instead of scrolling endlessly, in practicing patience instead of chasing instant gratification. These are small acts, easy to overlook, but over time they set the sharp-minded apart. The truth is, the loudest person is rarely the wisest. A bright mind doesn't need applause or recognition to validate itself. Its power lies in quiet mastery, habits so subtle they almost disappear, until one day you realize those very habits have carried that person far ahead of everyone else. True smartness is measured not by what you know, but by how you navigate people and situations. Knowledge on its own is like a library locked behind glass doors. It has weight, it has value, but it does not automatically make someone effective in the world. A person can memorize books, recite theories, and even display dazzling facts at will, yet remain helpless when faced with the unpredictable realities of human behavior. Life does not reward the one who simply knows the most. It rewards the one who can take what they know, combine it with sensitivity to people and timing, and then act with precision. That is where true intelligence begins to reveal itself, not in the classroom, but in the theater of human interaction. Think about the countless times in history where the most learned scholars remained in the shadows, while those who understood people, who could influence hearts and guide crowds, rose to power. Machiavelli himself warned that rulers could not afford to rely on knowledge alone. They had to master perception, loyalty, and fear. A wise mind does not merely calculate facts, it reads faces, tones of voice, shifts in mood. It notices when silence speaks louder than words, and when a single gesture can bend an outcome. This ability to navigate the emotions and motives of others transforms intelligence from something private into something practical. Consider a workplace. Two employees may know the same information, have equal qualifications, and even match in talent. Yet one struggles endlessly while the other rises quickly. The difference is rarely raw knowledge. It is often that the successful one knows how to read the dynamics of the room, when to speak and when to hold back, how to make others feel valued, and how to handle conflict without letting it consume the team. That person understands that humans are not machines of reason. They are bundles of pride, fear, ambition, and desire. To work with people requires an awareness that goes beyond facts. It requires emotional and social intelligence. Navigation also involves adaptability. Situations rarely unfold as expected. The clever person is not the one who insists the world should match their plans, but the one who can bend, shift, and reorient when the winds change. Knowledge gives you tools, but navigation is about knowing which tool to use at the right time, and sometimes creating a new one on the spot. A truly smart person sees that clinging to rigid certainty often leads to failure, while a flexible approach creates room for survival, even advantage. As the saying goes, the reed that bends in the wind survives the storm, while the rigid oak is torn from the ground. At the heart of navigating people and situations lies empathy, not in the shallow sense of simply feeling for others, but in the deeper ability to imagine their perspective. A person who can step into the mind of another can predict actions, sense intentions, and prepare responses before words are even spoken. This is not manipulation in the crude sense. It is foresight, the ability to treat relationships as living systems that must be tended carefully. The smartest leaders, parents, and friends are those who can read the invisible threads between people and use that understanding to prevent harm, build trust, and inspire loyalty. But navigation also demands restraint. There is a temptation when one understands people to always try to control them, to always maneuver situations for personal advantage. Yet the truly intelligent recognize the danger in overplaying their hand. They know that forcing outcomes too aggressively often creates resistance, suspicion, and resentment. The wiser approach is to guide lightly, to allow others to feel they are choosing freely even when you have subtly set the stage. Machiavelli hinted at this paradox. Power works best when it does not always appear as power. In everyday life, this means knowing when to step back, when to let someone else believe an idea is theirs, when to give ground in order to win trust. Smart navigation also means mastering timing. A brilliant thought delivered at the wrong moment can fall flat, even cause harm. But the same thought held back and released at the right instant can change the entire course of events. Intelligence, therefore, is not only about what you say or do, but when you say it and when you do it. Great negotiators, great leaders, even great friends understand this truth. They don't rush to fill silences or push for decisions before the ground is ready. They let the moment ripen, and then they strike with clarity. Another dimension is self-control. A person who cannot govern their own emotions cannot possibly navigate others. Knowledge cannot save someone from the damage caused by rash anger, prideful stubbornness, or reckless impatience. True intelligence means knowing not only how to read others, but also how to regulate oneself. This is why wisdom has always been tied to composure. The ability to remain steady when others panic, to keep calm in the face of provocation, to smile even when insulted. These are not signs of weakness, but of profound strength. They show mastery of the inner world, without which mastery of the outer world is impossible. Let us also remember that navigating people and situations is not always about personal gain. Sometimes it is about survival, yes, but other times it is about harmony, about keeping peace where conflict might destroy, about guiding a group toward a better outcome. The person who can soften a heated argument with a single phrase, who can bridge two opposing sides with a fair compromise, demonstrates a form of intelligence far greater than simply quoting knowledge. They have turned understanding into action, wisdom into stability. True smartness is revealed in the balance between knowledge, empathy, and strategy. It is not about being the loudest voice or the cleverest debater. It is about quietly steering currents, sensing when to push and when to yield, when to reveal and when to conceal, when to act boldly and when to wait. The one who can do this not only avoids unnecessary trouble, but also finds opportunities invisible to others. They move gracefully through complexity, like a sailor who reads both the stars and the waves, while others flounder. Knowledge fills the mind, but navigation shapes destiny. And it is in that delicate art of moving wisely among people and through circumstances that true intelligence proves its worth. A sharp mind values curiosity, restraint, and the ability to question appearances. These three qualities may seem simple on the surface, but together they form the foundation of a deeper intelligence, one that does not merely collect knowledge but transforms it into wisdom. Curiosity drives the mind outward, always hungry to explore, to ask, to discover. Restraint balances that hunger, keeping it from turning reckless or arrogant. And the ability to question appearances ensures that the mind never becomes a prisoner of illusions, but instead searches for what lies beneath the surface. When combined, these qualities create not only intelligence, but insight, the kind of understanding that allows someone to see further and act more wisely than most. Curiosity is often misunderstood as childish or naive, but in reality, it is one of the purest signs of a sharp intellect. The curious person refuses to accept the world at face value. They are not content with "this is how it has always been," or "this is simply the way things are."
Instead, they lean in, asking why. Why do we believe what we believe? Why do certain traditions exist? Why do people act against their own interests? Such questions may sound small, but they open doorways to new ways of thinking. Every major discovery, invention, and breakthrough in history began with a question. The difference between an ordinary mind and a sharp one is that the ordinary mind stops asking once it receives an answer, while the sharp mind recognizes that each answer is only the beginning of a deeper question. But curiosity alone is not enough. Without restraint, curiosity can become reckless. A person who chases every idea without pause can be easily misled, distracted, or even destroyed by their own hunger for novelty. Restraint gives curiosity shape. It says, yes, explore, but choose carefully. Ask boldly but listen deeply. Seek truth but know when to wait for it to reveal itself. Restraint is what keeps the sharp mind from scattering its energy. It is the pause before speaking, the hesitation before judgment, the ability to step back and ask, is this the right time? Is this the right way? Where curiosity is the engine, restraint is the steering wheel. Together they allow intelligence to move with both power and direction. Restraint also manifests in how a sharp person handles conflict, emotion, and desire. Most people are quick to react. An insult sparks anger, temptation leads to indulgence, fear causes retreat. But the sharp mind resists this impulsiveness. It understands that the first reaction is rarely the best one. By holding back even for a moment, the sharp individual can choose a response that serves their long-term purpose, rather than their short-term feelings. This ability to hold fire in the chest without letting it burn everything around is a profound strength. Machiavelli himself noted that rulers who lacked restraint often destroyed themselves through uncontrolled impulses, while those who learned to master their desires held power far longer. The third quality, the ability to question appearances, is perhaps the sharpest edge of the mind. The world is full of illusions, crafted by others and by ourselves. People present faces to hide their fears, institutions project authority to conceal weakness, and even our own thoughts are sometimes masks for deeper emotions. A sharp mind refuses to be fooled by surface impressions. It does not mistake wealth for wisdom, loudness for confidence, or beauty for goodness. Instead, it looks underneath, searching for motives, patterns, and hidden truths. This questioning does not mean constant suspicion. Rather, it means refusing to be satisfied with the obvious. The sharp mind asks, what is really happening here? What is being left unsaid? What truth lies behind this appearance? This ability to pierce through illusions is what makes a person not just intelligent, but wise. Consider how many tragedies, both personal and historical, could have been avoided if people had questioned appearances sooner. Wars fought over false information, friendships destroyed by misunderstanding, opportunities missed because they looked unattractive at first glance. The sharp mind knows that appearances are often tools of manipulation. Advertisers use them to sell, politicians use them to persuade, and even ordinary people use them to protect themselves. To question appearances is not cynicism, but clarity. It is the refusal to be led blindly, the decision to see with one's own eyes, rather than borrow the vision of others. When these three qualities, curiosity, restraint, and the questioning of appearances work together, they form a rare kind of intelligence. The curious mind discovers possibilities, the restrained mind evaluates them, and the questioning mind separates truth from illusion. This triad creates not just knowledge but strategy, not just information, but understanding. A person who embodies all three does not simply walk through life reacting to events. They navigate with intention, adjusting their course with awareness. They are explorers, philosophers, and tacticians all at once. In everyday life, these qualities manifest in subtle but powerful ways. In conversation, a curious mind asks questions that make others feel seen and valued. Restraint prevents them from dominating the dialogue or rushing to judgment. Their ability to question appearances allows them to sense what others truly mean, even when words are disguised. In leadership, these qualities turn an ordinary manager into a visionary, someone who listens deeply, acts with patience, and sees hidden opportunities where others see only obstacles. In personal growth, they keep the mind alive and awake, never settling into complacency, never enslaved by impulse, never blinded by surface-level truths. The sharp mind, then, is not necessarily the one that knows the most facts or speaks the most eloquently. It is the one that remains endlessly curious, yet grounded by restraint, and courageous enough to question what others accept without thought. It does not rush, it does not cling to appearances, and it does not stop asking. Such a mind is dangerous to lies, powerful in negotiation, and unshakable in uncertainty. And perhaps most importantly, it is a mind that never grows old, because curiosity keeps it young, restraint keeps it steady, and questioning keeps it free. Machiavelli reminds us that wisdom often requires a balance of cunning and compassion. This balance is difficult, because human beings tend to lean too heavily to one side or the other. Some believe only in compassion, giving endlessly, forgiving without limit, and trusting without question. They are loved, but they are also vulnerable, open to exploitation by those who do not share their kindness. Others believe only in cunning, maneuvering through life with sharp strategies and ruthless precision. They protect themselves from betrayal, yes, but in the process, they often isolate themselves, feared but never truly loved, respected perhaps but never trusted. The true mark of wisdom, as Machiavelli observed, is not choosing one extreme, but weaving both together in a way that allows strength without cruelty and kindness without weakness. Cunning is often painted as a dark word, associated with trickery and deceit, but at its core, cunning is simply the ability to see the game beneath the surface, to recognize hidden motives, to anticipate moves before they are made. It is the skill of reading situations clearly and using that knowledge to navigate toward your goals. A cunning mind does not waste time believing the world is fair. It sees people as they are, driven by desire, fear, pride, and self-interest, and acts accordingly. Machiavelli in The Prince emphasized that rulers who failed to understand this truth often lost everything because they assumed loyalty would always remain, or that morality alone would hold power steady. Cunning is what keeps a person alert in a world full of masks and illusions. Without it, even the kindest heart will be crushed by harsher forces. But cunning by itself is never enough. A ruler or any person who relies only on cunning becomes a creature of suspicion and manipulation. Such a person may win victories, but they leave behind distrust, resentment, and isolation. To balance cunning, compassion is required. Compassion is the force that allows human beings to connect, to inspire loyalty, to create bonds that last longer than fear. It is the quality that turns strategy into leadership, calculation into trust, power into something sustainable. Compassion is not weakness, it is a form of strength, because it wins allies where cunning alone would only create rivals. The ability to understand another's suffering, to offer kindness even when it is not deserved, is not the opposite of cunning, but its complement. It is the part of wisdom that ensures influence does not dissolve into tyranny. The sharpest minds recognize that both cunning and compassion are tools, and wisdom is knowing when to use each. There are moments where compassion opens doors that no strategy could force open. A gesture of generosity, a listening ear, a willingness to forgive. And there are moments where cunning closes doors that would otherwise lead to betrayal. A careful guard on information, a calculated delay, a quiet suspicion that prevents disaster. To rely too much on either is dangerous. To use them together is art. History is filled with examples of those who failed because they leaned too far toward one side. Leaders who ruled only through compassion often lost their kingdoms to treacherous advisors or ruthless invaders. Leaders who ruled only through cunning often found themselves overthrown by their own people, despised and abandoned. But the ones remembered as truly wise were those who mastered the balance. They could be feared when necessary, but loved when possible. They could strike when threatened, yet heal when wounds needed mending. Their power was not brittle, because it rested on both the vigilance of cunning and the trust built by compassion. This balance is not just for rulers, it applies to everyday life as well. In relationships, cunning alone creates manipulation, but compassion alone creates dependency. The wise friend, the wise partner, the wise parent is one who can see through deception yet still forgive, who can protect themselves without hardening their heart. At work, a cunning colleague who lacks compassion becomes untrustworthy, while a compassionate colleague who lacks cunning may be taken advantage of. The most effective person is the one who knows when to be shrewd, when to be soft, and how to hold both qualities without contradiction. Machiavelli's reminder is uncomfortable for many because it challenges the idea that goodness alone is enough. He does not dismiss goodness, he simply points out that goodness without protection will often be destroyed. His advice is not to abandon compassion, but to temper it with realism. Likewise, he does not glorify cunning for its own sake. He warns that fear alone cannot hold power. His vision of wisdom is pragmatic. Use compassion to build loyalty, use cunning to guard it, and never allow one to exist without the other. In practice, this balance means sometimes making difficult choices. It means recognizing when mercy will strengthen you and when it will weaken you. It means knowing when trust will build bridges and when it will open the gates to betrayal. It means understanding that humans are not purely noble or purely selfish. They are both, and wisdom lies in preparing for both sides. Compassion ensures you do not lose your humanity, while cunning ensures you do not lose your place in the world. The danger of ignoring this balance is visible everywhere. The overly compassionate often burn out, drained by giving too much without protection. The wise, however, move differently. They can stand in a crowd and offer kindness sincerely, but they also watch carefully, aware that not all smiles are honest. They can open their heart to others, but they also keep a part of themselves reserved, unexposed to manipulation. Their compassion makes them loved, and their cunning ensures that love cannot be exploited. Machiavelli's insight is not only about rulers or politics, it is about survival and flourishing in a world that is both beautiful and brutal. Life demands softness and steel, heart and mind, open hand and closed fist. Wisdom is not choosing between them but learning the rhythm of when to extend one and when to hold the other. Those who learn this balance walk a steadier path than those who lean too far to one side. They are not deceived by appearances, not weakened by sentiment, not hardened by suspicion. They embody a sharper intelligence, one that can endure storms without losing the warmth of the sun. And so, when we step back and look at the signs of true intelligence, we see it is not a matter of showing off knowledge or chasing applause. It is the quiet strength of subtle habits, the ability to navigate people and situations with clarity, the hunger of curiosity held in check by restraint, and the courage to question what others accept at face value. It is the rare wisdom to balance cunning with compassion, to be both sharp and human at the same time. These qualities are not loud, but they are powerful. They do not shine with quick flashes of brilliance, but with a steady glow that endures. The smartest among us are not those who seek to prove themselves at every turn, but those who use their minds to see deeper, act wiser, and live with both strategy and heart. As Machiavelli reminds us, the world is a place of appearances, desires, and shifting power. But the ones who rise above are those who can master themselves, read others, and choose carefully when to be soft and when to be strong. That, more than anything else, is the true measure of a sharp mind.